Get ready for Tremors Dragon Style.
Yeah.
What Flies Beneath is the episode that introduces another dragon species. And again, another one that's referenced in the book. Quite honestly, one of my favorite dragons, next to Night Fury and a Natter, the Whispering Death. Okay, I probably shouldn't say he's not my favorite, but it kind of gave the dragon a very good episode entrance.
God, the design just spooked me too.
I know.
It looked demonic.
It did.
Look at the eyes. They're like
those dead, milky white eyes, kind of like a shark's eyes when it's ramming into an object.
Yeah.
And it even lives up to its name. Is that when it's underground, you can hear this like whisper, 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 whisper. I felt a chill go up my spine a couple of times. All right, but the other good thing is this seemed to be the answer to the problem that we had in the Terrible Twos.
Yeah.
The message was about how you have to trust and listen to your dragon. For Terrible Twos, it was more about Hiccup trusting Toothless. This episode was kind of the reverse, and they did it very well.
Honestly, it's like, this is like the way to tell a good story. It's like, and hell, it had a callback to that one too.
There was?
No, actually, a callback to the other episode.
Oh, right. The In Dragons We Trust. Yeah, we'll get to that later. You really like to get ahead. Remember, NASCAR brain, minivan.
Okay. But, no, seriously, it's like, then again, if this is a Tremors, honestly, Gobber's Berk Gunner.
Berk Gummer? That would make sense since he makes all those weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
I remember you complaining before the episode started as you can't do Tremors without Berk Gummer.
Well, you can't. Can you imagine what Tremors without him?
It's like it's like Star Wars without Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader.
Exactly.
Or a lightsaber in general.
Exactly. You can't do that. But
or like Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. Talking to you, Spielberg.
Okay. No, getting back on track.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the episode actually gives one of the most dark for the series, just openings of all time is that it just establishes right off the bat the Whispering Death is a burrower, and it just like sucks the animals underneath it, just kind of like the graboid from Tremors. I wonder how many references we're gonna make to that movie now.
Better question is, how many references of other movies is this series going to make? We already had a reference of Jaws, Star Wars, Tremors.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if the writers were fans of Tremors.
You can't help but
I
get that feeling.
I kind of hope so.
You can't help but get that feeling.
I know, because what really makes great art is when you make little homages, or it just evolves from something that's pre-established.
Mm-hmm. But
this showed that dragons can actually hold grudges. They can have histories, and it turns out we finally get a little something into Toothless's history, which we don't know much about.
Yeah,
strangely enough, and for some reason I had been content with that from the first movie to the second.
It's kind of weird. It's like we don't ask really about Toothless's background or what he did.
Yeah, but what we found out is that sometime he got into a fight with the Whispering Death, and this kind of started this whole vendetta against each other, this kind of grudge match. And the thing is, when the Whispering Death arrives, it actually displays some intelligence. It doesn't try to go into conflict with any of the other riders' dragons. It just is looking it's looking for Toothless because it want to fight him.
And it actually does some stuff like dragons, and the fact that dragons may be more similar to Vikings about honor and
Yeah.
Like, the other dragons were refusing to help Toothless. Not because they didn't want to.
Because
It was...
because it was, yeah, like you said, honor. It was about honor.
Yes, and it was Toothless' fight, and he pretty much growled at them and said, "No, stay out of my fight, guys."
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that in like the third act of the episode, it's Snotlout that ends up coming to that conclusion, helping Hiccup realize that.
Yeah.
And so Toothless, was that my phone?
Yes, it was.
I think that was my phone.
Yes, it's sending me the future diary.
Uh-huh. Silent. Alright. So Toothless is just really against anyone interfering with his fight, even his own writer. I mean, when Hiccup tries to mount Toothless, he just throws him off. And this was definitely a better story than the Terrible Twos.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, the Terrible Twos could have been told so much better, and this just proves it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is how you tell a story. Like, yes, some conventions may be done time and time again, but it's not that they were used. It's just how you twist it.
Mm-hmm. And even with such a dramatic and even sometimes scary episode, we do get a little comic relief thanks to Bucket and
Bucket.
Surprisingly Mulch. The Whispering Death burrows under the ground, and Buckets for some reason stumbles into it, and he's going like, "I think I found my happy place." And then the Whispering Death just flings him out, and he goes, "That wasn't so happy."
And then, oh god, it has to be a homage to Tremors because there's Bucket and Mulch are standing on the freaking barrels.
Yes!
Just like that one guy's thinking he's safe on a tire.
Oh, yes.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah, and even Bucket even shows more intelligence by kind of knowing how the formula works out. Why aren't you slapping me to snap me out of it? I'm scared too, Bucket.
And thus, Bucket is the reason why people love him.
I know. I'm kind of glad you loved him. I kind of thought you would see him as annoying, but oh god, yeah, I love Bucket. Yeah, he's great. He's a great addition to the show. I wish they'd put him in the movies.
I know.
But getting back on track, so there is one issue that you kind of brought up with the episode is to how is Berk still standing with all the tunnels?
Yeah. This Whispering Death is tunneling for God knows how long. And you see these tunnels are not small.
I don't know. I think maybe because it's an island, there's a lot more rock than dirt. Maybe that's why why it might still be standing.
The island should be sunk then.
I don't think that's how islands work.
How do islands work?
I don't think they're not floating on the water. I think they're land masses that are rising from the water, kind of like like Hawaii.
I'm talking about like the whole thing should have became a sinkhole.
You mean like it should have crumbled, like the land under the water should have at least crumbled.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't think the Whispering Death is a water dragon. I don't think it likes the water very much. I mean, it shows that it can fly as well as burrow underground.
Yeah.
Right? And another thing that makes the Whispering Death so special in this episode, this particular Whispering Death, is that it misses Toothless's shot. And if you kind of remember from the first movie that the Night Fury never misses at all. And so, yeah, this kind of makes the Whispering Death very formidable. I actually saw the special feature on how they designed the Whispering Death, and they kind of said of how making the Whispering Death miss Toothless's shot kind of makes him a very formidable opponent for him, and it kind of establishes it definitely establishes that, but. It really comes down to the third act.
Yes. Now, as I mentioned about brilliant storytelling, the when you do a series, not just a movie series, it's always good to make callbacks to your previous episodes to tell that this is not just a one-shot episode. You're actually telling a coherent story. And so...
You mean a cohesive story?
Yes. Cohesive story. But going back to In Dragons We Trust, when beginning of the episode that started off the whole disaster of Mildew, they're doing the Dragon Trust exercise. And this comes back.
Yes. And it was... I think that was... I don't think that could have been... I don't think the end of that story could have been told any better without that.
Yes.
Because...
Without that episode, this would have been like out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Well, not out of nowhere, but it's just doesn't have that great effect.
I know. And it now establishes a new bond of trust between Hiccup and Toothless that again becomes very important in the second movie. And... Because what Hiccup does when he sees that Toothless is still not holding his own against the Whispering Death, and that he's still stubborn. Again, that similarity between dragons and Vikings is that the only thing Hiccup has left to do is to literally take a leap of faith. He jumps off the cliff and trusts Toothless to catch him.
Yeah, it's very ballsy, but my only question is, did they hit the ground?
I don't know if they hit the ground or they hovered. I mean,
it was weird.
His foot connected to the stirrup just before he hit the ground. But it could have landed on his. Toothless could have landed on his legs.
Yeah, I'm gonna doubt that. But I was wondering if they actually didn't pull up in time.
I'm not sure.
Like, everything was blocked by dust. But, no, of course, Toothless wins. And
yes, Toothless wins.
Were you ever going to doubt that?
Yeah, but here's the thing. They kind of established the fact that they have that a dragon's grudge won't end until the death. And Toothless has the opportunity to finish him.
Fatality.
Finish the Whispering Death off once and for all, and he just doesn't. I wasn't really paying attention to that part. I don't know whether... I'm pretty sure it's because Hiccup finally convinced him to just let it go. Let the whole thing go. I don't...
Just that phrase. I hate that phrase. Inside joke.
Mm-hmm. Done now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just...
Yeah. And again, establishes a new level of trust between the two. And, quite frankly, that's what I loved about this episode. It was... What Flies Beneath was the answer that we were hoping for with the Terrible Twos.
Yeah, it's honestly, actually, my top favorite at the moment.
Really? Mm-hmm. In what range? In the top 5 or in the top 10?
Top 5.
In the top 5?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I definitely. This is definitely a worthwhile episode. I think the series would be better with it than without it, and I really think we don't have anything left to say about it.
Not really.
No. So, once again, that is a wrap, and we will see you next time.